All right, let's call to order the Community Homeless Advisory Board for December 6, 2021 with a salute to the flag. Ms. Jordan, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. On to item 2, Madam Clerk, could you give us a roll call, please?
Of course. Alexis Hill via phone.
I'm here, thank you.
Ed Lawson, Vice Chair.
Here.
Bob Lucy is absent. Naomi Jordan.
Here.
Bonnie Weber in for Devin Reese.
Here.
And Christopher Dare.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Okay. We're going to move on to public comment. We have some public comment, I'm sure we do.
We have several people. Starting our public comment is Megan O'Farrell.
Hi, good morning. For the record, my name is Megan O'Farrell. Thanks for having me today. I'm here today to urge you to please work with the city to get the Record Street shelter opened as an emergency overflow shelter. At the end of this week, our temperatures are going to dip down into the low teens, and they will have 30-degree temperatures during the daytime, so there will be no respite for people from these brutal temperatures. I know that there's an agenda item on the city council meeting this week to potentially sell that building, but this building have already been a shelter. As far as I understand, it is still currently housing some people. It is turnkey and ready to go now. I know that at our last public meeting with your group, Dana Searcy explained to us that we wanted to keep facilities centralized, to keep resources in those spaces. Those places are not ready, and we have an emergency situation happening right now that we need to address right now. This is the fastest and easiest way to get this happening right now to save people. These temperatures are dangerous for people to live in. They are going to be increased burdens on the rest of these already stretched resources in our community when people are needing to start fires and do things to stay warm. So it's going to result in increased calls to our fire department and inextricably to our police as well too. So there will be further trauma and damage to the people who are experiencing these conditions as well as the rest of our community who is not safe from these kinds of things either. It's also going to put undue burden on our hospitals who are already strained and overburdened with the pandemic and the onslaught of the new strains of the virus that are coming our way. And it behooves us to take these people into consideration who have worked hard to protect our community for almost 2 years now, to not increase their burden by bringing people who are experiencing hypothermia and freezing cold conditions into their doors. We have options in front of us. We have resources in front of us. The only thing that's stopping us is from moving it forward. Rise, who runs our place that you are aware of, is ready to open and run this facility now. There is a proposal in front of city council members so that this can happen. There's no more excuses that we need to make for why we're not making this happen. So I'm going to beg you, please open this shelter now. We are out of options and people are going to die. My second comment today is that I would ask and encourage whoever is in charge of updating the portal for the information that comes from the CARES campus, the Safe Camp, and our place is not being updated on the weekends, and poverty does not take a break. We need people to have this information for a very important reason because this is how folks know how to advocate for people to get them into resources. So I encourage you to make it a priority to have this counter updated every single day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Darsh Patel, and he provided a handout that I will distribute to the board.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here today. My name is Darsh Patel, and I'm a junior at the Davidson Academy. And I wanted to thank the committee for undertaking this very important task of helping our fellow citizens who are facing homelessness. With the current pandemic forcing many of us to do work from home, I was able to see and understand the patient population at my mother's skilled nursing facility. I was very disturbed by the images I would see repeatedly while maintaining strict HIPAA guidelines. The images were of adult feet in a black and bloody state that seemed beyond recovery. The patients were often ended up with amputation of some or all of their toes. And these patients were homeless, without proper shelter, clothing, food, supply, and footwear. Many come to skilled nursing facilities from acute hospitals and refuse to go to the shelter, ending up outside in Reno's harsh winter climate. This brought back memories of my earlier days on the ski slopes. I remember getting onto the mountain feeling happy, only to find that despite wearing the warmest clothing on my feet, I couldn't tolerate the freezing temperatures. I hadn't even gotten frostbite, yet my toes felt like they were burning and hundreds of needles were prickling them. I can only imagine how terrible it must feel to actually have a frostbite and no place to warm up. I've made it my mission to do something about this problem. Currently, I'm spearheading a project called the Soul Shoe Project, whose goal is to raise awareness about how the homeless in Reno suffer from frostbite that can lead to further amputation, deteriorating their quality of life. I'm aiming to raise money by selling t-shirts through my website. All profits and sales will go 100% to purchasing winter boots for the homeless. I also want to bring strong governmental and community awareness so that we can eradicate amputation secondary to frostbite in the homeless population. Again, many of the homeless refuse to go to shelters and as such have to survive out in the cold. And that is why I stand before you this morning to request that this committee recognize that frostbites amongst the homeless can lead to amputation. I would urge the committee to spearhead a program to eradicate frostbites in the homeless population. I suggest that we equip either the police department, emergency rooms, or skilled nursing facilities with enough budget to buy winter boots and socks so that they can give these resources to the homeless. Thank you.
Next up, we have Heather Carpenter.
Good morning. My name is Heather Carpenter. I live in Sparks. So I am here today just to listen to what you all have to say and really get a first-person perspective. I do sometimes chime in on the stream that you run. I would like to make a comment at this time in support of Megan O'Farrell's comments. She made some very valid points here. I really hope you hear and take those on board. I'm going to be staying for the meeting as long as possible, hopefully following up at the end of the meeting at the public comments section at that time. In the meantime, I would like for you to keep in mind that some of us here who are listening in on the meeting regularly engage with the homeless population. We have firsthand experience with poverty, and to my knowledge, no one on this board has those experiences. So please be mindful of your audience as we proceed. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jessica Castro.
Hi, my name is Jessica Castro. Thank you, Heather, because, that's something that's very important to me. I feel, unfortunately, I'm not here to thank you for taking on this job because I don't see you out there. I don't see you with any actions. What I see is a lot of dismissal from the city to the county and then to you guys, and it's just a big game. I see a lot of fudging with the numbers of beds available, and then I still see sweeps. I'm still seeing sweeps. I still see sweeps all of the time. I saw one Saturday right in the middle of downtown Reno. How is that legal when there's no shelter available? There's no beds. The numbers that you guys are providing, that are being provided, are false because I'm out there every day. And when you guys are saying there's beds available and I call and I'm like, hey, I have somebody that I want to come down with, take them there, there's no beds. It happens over and over and over. I would also like to bring up the Christmas list, the gifts for the CARES campus. I am appalled that we consider socks a Christmas gift. I'm shocked. If you guys need help with socks for my CARES campus community, I will give them to you. I have a donor right now who will buy them for you right now. I am shocked that we think that Christmas presents are socks. That hurts. Why have they not had socks until now? Do you really think that what they are worth for Christmas is a pair of socks when they're getting their legs and arms amputated from frostbite from being out there because they don't want to go to the shelter? That is unsafe. I don't understand what's going on with this anymore. I really, I'm gonna sit here for this whole meeting, because today was actually my day off, but I'm gonna sit here for this whole meeting and I'm gonna talk at the end again to you guys, because I wanna hear what you guys have to say this time. I'm gonna actually listen. I invite you, Mr. Lawson, to come out with me and do some outreach. I'm working on some hygiene bags right now, and I would love for you to participate in that. Ms. Jardin, you as well. Tomorrow at City Council, I really hope that as CHAB representatives, you're all there to support the record shelter opening, and instead of selling it. Because I've had direct communications with city officials saying that they're considering opening it as a shelter, so I'm surprised why it's even on the agenda tomorrow to be sold. And Ms. Jardin, I really, really am begging you for a no on that vote tomorrow. Thank you.
Next up, we have Megan Archibald. Looks like Megan's not here. Bill Sims is up next.
Morning, members. I'm here because, along with my friends and my fellow advocates, first off, I would like to say to the young gentleman that talked about, selling T-shirts on websites to help our homeless population, that's more than any of you guys are doing. You can sit on that dais and say you're part of the solution, but again, as Jessica has pointed out, none of you are out there. I'm out there with her. I'm out there helping her feed homeless people. I'm out there helping her try to make sure that people are still breathing. When I just walked here, I passed about, at minimum, half a dozen people sleeping in just random spots because, as it has been stated, the homeless shelter isn't safe. It's not. And I know that Dana said last month that people never had to wait for more than 4 hours for a bed, which is false because of the fact that I was actually part of a conversation where a gentleman was 86th from CARES campus wrongfully, and when they realized that, they had no beds available. So unless 4 hours covers about an 8-9 hour period through wormhole, she's a liar. And I know that sounds mean to say. I really don't care. I'm not here to please you guys. I'm not here to please the city of Reno. I'm here as a damn advocate for people who don't have a permanent roof over their head, like my dad in California. And you know what? I don't give two shits about how or why someone's homeless. If they don't want to go to shelter, fine. If they do and they can't, fine. But what you guys should be doing is looking into opening expanded shelters in Reno. And you're not. I guarantee it. I know you're not. You know how I know? Because Record Street isn't open. Because people still, after months of knowing CARES campus is not safe because people are being sex trafficked out of there, or being abused, or being killed, or having overdoses. No, you guys are actually here to serve the people of Washoe County. So, like Jessica, I implore you to actually come on this side of the dais and do something about it.
Next up, we have Jake Maynard.
My name is Jake, for the record, and I'm here today to speak about a few things regarding our unhoused community members. First of all, like others also speaking today, I am asking for the emergency reopening of the Record Street shelter. Multiple members of the board, this board last month, acknowledged that the current situation at the CARES campus is not good enough in terms of providing both services and safety to everyone seeking emergency shelter there. One of the main arguments against opening the Record Street shelter, presented also last month by Dana Searcy, was that the goal was to centralize homeless services and specifically to discourage the movement of the unhoused towards downtown. First of all, I find this to be extremely concerning and reject this idea entirely. And I believe that if someone thinks that limiting the free movement of any community member is okay, they should have no business working as a homeless services manager. By opening the Record Street shelter, you could both take the strain off of the CARES campus and its current inability to serve the needs of our neighbors, and that is specifically for women and families who are not currently safe at CARES, as well as providing more space for people to seek a warm place to sleep. Speaking of a warm place to sleep, where are the Mod Pods that were supposed to be installed by the end of November at Safe Camp? And what is the situation at Safe Camp? And what are you all on this board doing to solve or try to solve these issues? Lastly, the sweeps have to stop, period. Not only do they literally put people's lives in danger, encourage police brutality, and make it harder for individuals to access services, they're also an insanely large waste of money, which seems like the only thing some of you on this board seem to care about. Thank you.
Next up, we have Megan Archibald.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to address the board here this morning. My name is Megan Archambault. I'm the founder of Reno Sparks Mutual Aid. We actually have several of our members here, and I come to you today as an organization that shouldn't need to exist in the capacity it does, because the citizenry should be cared for by their government. However, because we're falling behind in that, we do exist. One of the issues that we're running into over and over again, when people are removed from CARES or our place, where do they go? So far, we haven't gotten a satisfactory answer. When women report they don't feel safe at CARES and when CARES is not admitting women, when our place is full, where do they go? Over and over and over again, we're seeing women say, I don't want to go to CARES. I'm scared to go to the shelter. CARES hasn't been admitting women, from what we understand. There's been reports of sexual assaults, reports of rapes, and it's been to advocates because women don't feel like they can trust the people who are in charge. I'm a survivor of rape myself. I know how difficult it is to speak about what's happened to you. But when you're put in a situation where you feel like less than, when you feel a power imbalance, and somebody's just looking at you like you're making everything up, as one woman reported to me when she tried to say something, what good are we doing? We're about to have another winter storm roll in. Right now, Record Street is sitting vacant. If we're not going to open it up to women and families, let's at least open it up to a warming center, something. We are going to see people die of exposure, likely this week, if we don't do something now. We're really good at talking about solutions for the future, a 20-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan. That doesn't help the people who are going to lay down on the sidewalk this week and not wake up. We have fentanyl sweeping through this county right now. Not all people experiencing homelessness use drugs, but some do. The cold contributes to opiate intoxication, can raise the risk of overdose. Let's remember the people who are shelter resistant as well. Let's get them warmed up. Let's remember the people have a right to be safe in their community. Thank you.
Ilya Arbatman.
Morning. Ilya Arbatman for the record. Yeah, standing here listening to the comments, I'm kind of struck by the fact that I'm sure that you guys, as well as us, are kind of tired of the conflict and kind of the tone that's been set here a lot. It just feels like a huge waste of energy and time for us to be coming here and yelling at you, and for the board to be sitting there kind of blank-faced and not doing anything. A lot of the suggestions that are coming to you guys are not crazy. The Record Street shelter is basically ready to go. There's an operator. The building is a real building. It's not a tent. There could be probably about 50 women and couples there, 9 private rooms for families. It seems to me that the way to remedy the slowness of government is just to be a little bit more open-minded and just try and see what happens, right? We're not saying if you open Record Street that that's going to be, that we're all going to be bound to that being the new women's shelter, but we do recognize that there is a problem right now, that there is no place for single women to go. In my outreach, I see a lot of women who, it's something that happens on the street a lot, but who kind of end up pairing up with people just to stay safe. And, that situation can lead to its own very real risks and dangers. I think that just providing a place for people to go, even for 2 months, even until the springtime or whenever, would really go a lot. First of all, to regaining the trust of the community, and also to helping the people actually in need. Last month when I was here, I spoke to the board about also getting real about a lived experience advisory board, right? As has been said here before, some of us are 3-4 times removed from the problems we're talking about. I myself, I might be doing some work out there, but still, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm not, I have a house. I'm not living on the street. I really don't understand why we're not hearing the voices of the people that we're actually serving. It would not be difficult to organize. It could easily be agendized for the next meeting. It could have been agendized for this meeting. And I think it would really go a long way, once again, to rebuilding some of that trust and to helping us find solutions that actually work for the people that we're supposedly helping here. Finally, as to sweeps, it's just really pathetic to kind of be on Commercial Row and just to see what a waste it is. Every week, couple weeks, you go out there and a couple people are sort of posting up there. The cops are harassing them, maybe arresting them, and it just seems like this weird, dark merry-go-round that just doesn't make any sense. It's really not a good use of resources. It seems like it makes much more sense to spend energy working on getting people into housing than just kicking them around like cans on the street. Thank you.
Elise Campbell.
Hello there, my name is Elise Campbell, for the record. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I'm studying social work right now. I am here today to voice my concerns as a future social worker towards our county's and our city's housing crisis. The truth is, I'm fearful for our unhoused population and my ability to serve these folks moving forward in my career, given the current resources and standard of care being performed by this county. I'm confident in my skills, confident in my ability, my education, what I've been spending 4 years now studying, and I just am not confident in our county's ability to be utilizing funding correctly and equitably to help these folks. The housing crisis has been ongoing for years and continues to get worse as we speak. This vulnerable population, their needs are going nowhere, and the current effects to warehouse these folks are deeply harmful. No matter how many millions of dollars are poured into mega shelters or transitional housing programs, it's money wasted so long as there's no affordable housing for these folks to move into. We're seeing this at both our place and CARES campus. These folks are ready to graduate their housing plans, but they have nowhere to move into. We must utilize existing housing and land within the county limits to provide affordable housing opportunities to these folks. And affordable housing is the long-term solution, and drastic efforts need to be made, or else those in vulnerable situations will fall deeper in them. In terms of shorter-term solutions, the county must address the danger that CARES campus poses to so many of these folks, but most specifically, single houseless women. As you can hear, of the sexual assaults or claims, and also claims of rape and violence. Ours Place and campus are reaching capacity and the encampment sweeps are still happening. I'm urging the county to open additional emergency shelter for unhoused women and couples specifically. If not the Record Street CAC, then another shelter must be arranged as soon as possible, with the next snow being overdue. In addition to these needs, I urge the county implement standards that provide protections, rights, and assistance to low-income renters. They have no one in their corner right now other than these community advocates, and we really need someone with power, so, someone who is on this board in front of us today to be in their corner with them. I am only a social work intern right now, and I see these issues really clearly. The county's negligence towards this population is glaringly clear, and if the county continues to avoid addressing major barriers like the housing crisis, then moving forward, monthly meetings like these are merely performative.
Sakila Ankrobach. Sorry about that pronunciation.
Good morning, members of the board. Thank you for listening to the concerns of the community around housing issues today. My name is Sequila Ankertak. I'm a master's level social work student, a resident of Washoe County, and a Navy veteran, attending UNR on the GI Bill. As a veteran, I am acutely aware that many of my fellow veterans suffer from houselessness, so the need for protective services in the houseless population is near to my heart. I come today with my fellow social work student, Elise, who just spoke, because we have become increasingly concerned about the women at the CARES campus. As social workers, our values keep the inherent dignity and worth of all people at the very forefront of our field. Through our internships, volunteer work, and connections in the community, we students have become aware that many women in the CARES campus have raised concerns about unsafe conditions. And we are worried these women are not receiving the dignity they deserve as members of our community. I personally have talked to several women about their experiences while volunteering with a local organization serving food outside the campus. They shared with me intense concerns around daily threats of violence and experienced attacks on the CARES campus. As a social worker, I started growing in concern that the voices of these women are not being heard, validated, and acted on, especially as they are part of the vulnerable houseless population. We social work students ask the board today that the safety of the houseless community in Washoe County, but especially of the women who have already experienced multiplied trauma, be at the forefront of the decisions made today. We ask particularly that the decisions around Record Street be in the woman's favor. Please open this housing immediately. And we ask that our cities and counties secure safe housing for these women and that they seek to create more gender protective spaces for houseless women moving forward. These concerns cannot be the concerns of tomorrow when the stakes of basic safety are so high. These women need our help now. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope we all, as those who are in service of the people in our community, will continue to create new resources and opportunities together as new and pressing needs arise for our community members. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have nobody else signed in.
We'll ask one more time. Is there anybody else in the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes of August 2nd, 2021 and November 1st, 2021. Looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
Move to approve. Second.
I've got a motion by Mr. Dare, second by Ms. Jordan. All those in favor, signify.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, item 5, board update and discussion of the Nevada Cares Campus Homeless Services Campus Capital Project. Dana.
Good morning. Dana Searcy, Washoe County Homeless Services Division here. Thank you and good morning to everyone. It's No surprise that we are having our share of struggles as we work to get this campus off the ground. We're here today to share information, share some successes, and tell you where we're going, and how we're addressing the things that we're learning about. So we'll start with Safe Camp. One of the wonderful things about Safe Camp that we're seeing is some of the stats that are coming out of this camp. This, as we've shared, was a risky endeavor, something new to our community. It was very important that we took this pilot program on with an open mind. Lots of feedback from the people who are there, and considering how might we engage those who don't feel safe moving into a congregate shelter. Of the people who have moved out of Safe Camp, we are seeing that 60% of them are moving into a permanent option. This means they're not returning to the streets, they're not returning to or entering into a transitional program. This is an enormous number. And we're also seeing that 75% of this initial set of individuals that have moved out within the first 2 months of being there. That's very encouraging numbers, and we hope to see that continue. I would highlight that for us, the biggest challenge is housing. A lot of individuals come in and are ready to move out pretty quickly, but the housing options are very limited. We've got 28 people today inside the CARES campus with a housing voucher that have nowhere to go. An operator update for Safe Camp. We have closed our RFP and gone through that process. Karma Box will retain the operating authority at Safe Camp. We'll be bringing that to our board at this next meeting on December 14th. And Mod Pods. On Friday morning, we got the news that our Mod Pods are not going to be here this week. We have cleared all of the parking and everything at the CARES campus for all of those trucks to come in. They are made and sitting in a warehouse in Portland, and our troubles is trucking, actually. So everyone on the entire West Coast is looking to rent trucks, get trucks. If we can get them here, we'll go get them ourselves, but we're just waiting on confirmation. We're still hoping that those are not too far out, but they are not here this morning as we anticipated. Our participant advisory board. Individuals with lived experience do have a very different perspective from those of us who've worked in government most of our careers. This participant advisory committee was one of the main aspects of this pilot program at the Safe Camp that we were not willing to negotiate on. These participants come together, form a board, as we've shared with you. They hold all of the seats, the chair, vice chair, secretary. The staff is invited to participate and listen. None of the staff guide the discussion in any way. I wanted to share with you a couple very specific examples that have come out of that advisory board. I would also share, we kind of backed off. I was going to invite the chair of that board to come in and speak with you, and decided honestly, personally, without asking too many people, that that might put too much pressure on him. This morning, we've talked about it, and we'll make sure that there are members of that board here to speak to you next month about the conditions of Safe Camp and how everything's going. But very specifically, they've provided quite a bit of feedback into the future design of the Safe Camp. This is just a little example from all of that feedback, but bike racks. As we do at CARES Campus, we have a large bike rack that gets fairly heavily used, and bikes stack up, and it doesn't look very nice, and people get things stolen or broken and all of that kind of thing. And so they asked us if there was any way that each one of them could be entitled to holding their bike at their new Mod Pod that's coming. So each Mod Pod has been equipped with a specific bike rack that will allow it to hang up on the sidewall and be locked up next to their unit. Also, heating and cooling as the hot sun beat down on those tents in the middle of summer. They came up with things that, you know, again, most of us would not think of. Misters in underneath the pavilion area where they eat, and they did their fundraiser for the fans. Also, during cold weather, they meet every single week. They address what's coming, they address what they need, and staff responds appropriately. Restroom distance. In the recent months, we're seeing that it's colder and nobody really wants to, move around quite as much. We're not seeing any troubles at all, but for the first time, we heard from them a couple weeks ago, that really long, skinny rank that flanks out east to west, it's a really long way to the bathroom. Anyway, we can throw up a Sandy hut in the middle of that so that people don't have to walk that far in the middle of the night. So that's been handled. And then rumors and conflict, and I think this one for us is the most interesting one to look at. A lot of people just, like anywhere, there's rumors, there's conflict, there's things going on where participants may say, I can't be next to that person, or I can't talk to that person, or maybe something happened inside the camp where we might start to see some conflict or fighting going on. These things can be addressed at the Participant Advisory Board. And they have honest conversations and they're not judged. And a lot of times they have seen that this kind of deflates the situation, and where in previous times, maybe someone would leave because they think that that person doesn't like me, or, whatever the situation is, they've been able to work through quite a bit during that Participant Advisory Board meeting. And our winter plans. We're all aware of the winter coming this week. I think we've been keeping our fingers crossed that the weather would hold off until these Mod Pods get here. And like so many other things over the last couple of years, a lot of this is out of our control. So we're continuing to do all of the things that we have done to help those participants be safe during the cold weather as it rolls in. New dedicated space is one of the things that we've done in the warming center. We have not seen temperatures quite as cold as what's being predicted later this week, so we want to make sure that there are options available. The warming center in CARES campus, we'll talk more about it later, but we are going to dedicate 45 spots out of that area just to make sure that anybody who wants to get into the warm can do so. We are also moving forward on our plans to lease the garage, the long garage building that is over at the Reno Housing Authority parcel. That garage building is insulated, it's not insulated, it's heated, and has plenty of room for anybody in the safe camp, as well as anyone in overflow, which we'll share that plan later. What we are considering right now with the news on Friday, and most of us have spent this weekend trying to figure out how to pull this off, as quickly as possible, we are proposing, and Karma Box will be sharing with participants today to see how they feel about the idea, to move all of the tents into those garage bays. It'll get them out of the snow and provide a little bit of protection while we wait for those Mod Pods to get here. So more information to come on that, but I know we're all hoping to have that done, again, relatively quickly. It's very close to the camp. We can move their entire tent, and that would actually move everybody out of the tent, let the Mod Pods get set up, and then everybody would move back into a Mod Pod. And again, all hopefully within the next couple weeks. This is our safe camp. This is the final design. You can see, as we shared last time, there's still an acre of land on the west side available for a future project. And we are still on schedule with bids opening next week, so we'll see what that comes in. Our budget is still at $4.5 million, and last week when they had all of the construction companies on site, there was 10 different construction companies, lots of excitement around this project. So emergency shelter. We're still working through quite the transition from Reno to the county, still very muddy and uncertain at some times, but we are all working through it as quickly as we possibly can. Moving contracts and all of that is very complicated, but we're getting pretty close. Hiring and staffing plan, we'll be sharing that with you today. I just put this up here as a reminder that capacity is 604 beds and 112 in the warming center. To date, we've seen about 30 to 40 people sitting in that shelter at some point during the day to come in and warm up. Winter overflow. As I mentioned, our plan is to lease out that garage building that has heating. It's right there on campus. It helps our staffing situation, as it's not another site. And it has plenty of room. There's 14 people that will be allowed in each of those garage bays, and there are 26 bays. So that's over 300 people. Plenty of room, as I said, on site. We've met with the fire department at Reno, and there's no concerns about, we're gonna put in, doors and that kind of thing, but we should be able to heat everything and keep everyone warm for the winter. Participant Advisory Board, similar to the Safe Camp, we have put a Participant Advisory Board for feedback inside the emergency shelter. Their first meeting was last week, and so we look forward to continuing to see that evolve, and we'll share with you the successes of that one as well. Campus participant development. This continues. This is part of that volunteers. This is part of getting providers on site. How do we ensure that it's not just VOA and the county on site trying to address the needs of all 600 people? So we have now a process developed with the county to an MOU process to get people on site, insurance in place and all of that kind of thing. So we'll keep you updated, but right now we're working on about 12 different agreements with the MOUs and AA classes, training classes and other things. So we'll keep that list up to date and show you what that looks like next time. Also, our business outreach project, many of you are aware, Karma Box was contracted through the help of our fundraising committee to do some outreach and cleanup with the businesses along 4th Street. So that work has begun. And holiday plans. Each year, I've been told by VOA that they have they have ensured that each person was provided a gift. This year, because of the capacity needs and all of the transition and how large that campus really is, coupled with our Safe Camp needs, we decided that that gift would be just a care package with socks, a hat, and gloves for each individual. Our goal is to have 850 of those, so we have enough for anybody coming and going, not just those at campus. Several different organizations have stepped up to help us, so I am proud of the staff that has put some time towards this to make sure that everyone does have something to open up for Christmas. We wanted to share some data. So we don't have everything yet, but this is some initial numbers coming out. This slide is really to show you the sheer volume of what is occurring at CARES Campus. Over 1,000 unduplicated people have been served over the last month. It's a lot of individuals. 15,000 heads on beds, bed nights at CARES Campus during November. It is quite the operation, and we need all the support we can get to make sure that staffing is in place, that services are in place, and so that people are safe. This is a look at average beds that are occupied. You can see that there are available beds each day. The way that this works is, and I cannot speak exactly for our place, but I assume that it's roughly the same. At this scale, because we have 600 beds in the building, what they do is they take the count at about 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And they travel, they walk up and down all the rows every 2 hours throughout the day. Anyone who doesn't report back to a bed in 24 hours, the bed is then released. So you can see that green bar at the bottom, averaging 15 beds available in November. We have not hit a day where there has not been a bed available. This morning there were 12 beds available at CARES and 8 beds available at our place. What happens then is, the cold weather sits in, we start filling up those beds 4 or 5 in the morning, and at some point in the day over the past, we've been tracking since November, we usually fill up during the day. We're still seeing what we saw last month, where you can come in, you can wait in the warming center, No one is waiting more than a couple of hours for a bed who'd like one, and we're still kind of seeing that pattern continue. And then also average number of women. The campus absolutely is accepting women so long that they said that one, our place is full, or two, it is someone who is not able to be at our place. And exits from CARES. I don't have a lot of detail on this one yet. This is the first time that we've pulled numbers for you, but we'll be watching this, and then hopefully over time, we'll see this number start to increase. And we're gonna track whether it's to a permanent destination, a temporary destination, or an institution, which would be like a program of some kind. This is our staffing plan. So before the board, and I apologize, this says 12/14, it's going to be pushed a meeting. This is the plan that will be put in front of the Board of County Commissioners. 14 additional line staff, a diversion and intake team. The plan is to take the current CARES campus case management team and really let them focus on helping people find a different option, helping people find a different program, and also going through the intake process. 21 additional case managers, 20 are for CARES campus and 1 for Safe Camp that will be Washoe County staff. 6 mental health counselors will be spreading these out across the day to make sure that mental health support is on campus as much of the time as possible. 2 additional admin staff, 1 to focus specifically on partnerships and volunteer opportunities in the region, and also staff development and training. And then a medical billing specialist. For us, the Medicaid reimbursement is something new to homeless services. HSA has a program. We are new, of course, and do not, so we'll be focusing on how to start that up. And 24-hour nurse and medical support. And that'll be contracted right now as we just, as we work through what that actually looks like and who provides all of that. And we just put a note up here that this is addressing a lot of the recommendations that John DeCarmine had given us. And this is construction. So this diagram has changed quite a bit from the last time that you've seen it. As we mentioned last time, we learned quite a bit about our sprung building and mostly the fact that we couldn't cut into the slab to install a kitchen or something of that magnitude inside the building. So we pulled the kitchen out. You'll see it now in that blue bubble. And we've combined that up against all of the case management and the intake area. Also, you'll see the bridge housing on there kind of flanking the west side of it and creating a little more of a circle so that we can have a campus feel. There'll be a lot of green and shade and that kind of thing, lots of trees in the middle and throughout. And then the resource center. The county is currently moving forward with an opportunity to purchase the Reno housing parcel. I will caution that there are a lot of environmental concerns that need to be reviewed and addressed before anything moves forward. But we are considering moving forward, and it makes sense for the campus, and it makes sense for Housing Authority to develop affordable housing a little bit further away from the campus. The big empty spot that you see there is going to still be targeted for permanent supportive housing. And the purple is what will be our future day center or resource center. You'll enter in off of Line Drive for that program. And then the idea is that it will open up, it will have laundry and showers and restrooms in it. And it will open up to an area that is maintained over the year for overflow winter space as needed. Budget updates. So we are experiencing the campus kind of settle in. We're seeing a little bit about the magnitude of 600 people and the needs for the building so that we can make sure that people have a safe, warm, welcoming space to be. there are, as we've mentioned with all of you before, some concerns about showers and restrooms. That's one reason why we are investing so much in those new showers and restrooms. Additional electricity capacity. We've learned that a lot of times there's not enough capacity to charge all of the electric scooters and the CPAP machines and everything that needs to be running at once. So we're evaluating what that looks like. And hot water, we need to get more hot water into that sprung building. Gray water disposal, there's not really a safe place to dump all of the cleaning water. So we want to make sure that when we come in and do renovations, that all of these things are addressed. Some pretty significant winterization and patching the sprung, again, just as it settles in and we're watching what weather and that kind of thing bring to the building. We're dealing with supply chain and inflation, no surprise there, as well as capacity needs. You have all been a part of tripling capacity over the last 18 months in our region between our place and CARES campus, and we know that it still is not enough. So we're considering this in our plans for overflow and extra space and that kind of thing. This is all resulting in approximately 37% increase right now, and these are still just budget numbers. This is not an actual bid, but we're getting closer. On our bathrooms, I will show you this piece of the construction. So all the work inside the building, sealing the floors, the cubbies, and all of the bathroom showers and laundry that will go in. That number was originally budgeted at about $8 million is what we were budgeting when we looked at the interlocal agreement. It is now at about 11 million. We're working to bring it down and make other substitutions on materials and that kind of thing. But, you know, it's very important to the team that we do not compromise or make a choice right now that would save money in the short term, but in the long term would turn into a maintenance concern or a safety concern. This is a look at what those cubbies inside the building will look at. And as a reminder, on the north half, there'll be all cubbies, and on the south half, it'll be all bunk beds. We're gonna put up dividers in the building where those blue lines are to also use one of John DeCarmine's recommendations to just try to chunk out each. There's about a little more in the south you can see, but there's roughly 100 people in each of the sections so that staff and individuals have just a smaller footprint, and it's helps it not be so massive. This is a drawing of what the campus will look like. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Let's see, get that light to come on. Questions from the board? Ms. Jordan.
Thank you very much. I have a series of questions, and I'm going to try to be quick because I think we only have until 11, correct? This meeting only goes till 11? Yes. First off, I did want to let those that came during public comment know that over the weekend, I had conversations with the mayor. My understanding, and I don't know if city management can confirm this, my understanding was in response to some of the conversations and concerns, the item of the sale of Record Street is being pulled from Wednesday's agenda. So I'm getting a head nod that yes, that is in fact occurring. I think there's lots of moving parts, and I think that the mayor was very concerned about making sure that the short and the long-term discussions about the county's plans as well as that building's purpose as we go forward were better sort of massaged and thought out. So my understanding is that item is being pulled. In addition, on Wednesday, for the information of this board, there is an item that will remain on the agenda for the potential purchase of 96 bridge housing units similar to the Sage Street sort of modulars that, my understanding, are ready to go. I'm sure we'll run into the same transportation issues that the county unfortunately is seeing. So anyway, I just wanted to announce that at this meeting. I do want to start from what I consider the most emergent, and then we can move backwards from that. Thank you. This presentation has been great. Since the last meeting to this, there's been a lot of stuff, details, and I know this is a huge, huge undertaking. So thank you, Dana, and to everybody from the county for all your work on this. My most emergent question is, come Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, for overflow purposes, cold weather, sheltering, is that garage style building, which, as I understand, is 300 additional spaces, is that going to be ready, open by Wednesday?
It is not currently planning to be. Everybody right now is looking at what emergency options we have. The plan was to bring it forward to both boards next week on the 14th. Obviously, with the weather turning over the weekend, staff is trying to do everything that we can to get it open. We're working with Karma Box to make sure that Safe Camp is prepared. So I can get you back an update in the next day or two as that plan comes to fruition. Happy to do that.
Okay, I'm just curious if there's some emergency option that we might be able to deploy. And however we at the city can help in that effort, we certainly want to be there to be nimble, as some of the public commenters said.
Yes.
We need to be nimble on this, and however we can get that open for the sheltering. And certainly the next question I have, can somebody speak to these issues of the safety in particular of women on campus and how we're looking at addressing some of those issues that have been spoke about here today?
Absolutely. I can give a general answer, and I'm just peeking to see if security or anybody's in the room that could speak on it, and VOA, obviously. Feel free to come on down.
I saw some
Yeah.
heads bobbed
Come on down, guys.
from those that are down.
Oh,
Okay,
it's fine.
we got a couple
Great.
folks. All right.
So we did some calls. We've been keeping a very close eye on this, obviously. We have not heard anything specific to date. There has been one report. That report was looked into and investigated fully by our sheriff's office. Was not substantiated. Ben, I'm happy to let you come on up and give any more additional information. We're seeing the way that the campus works is no matter what the complaint or concern or incident is, if anybody is looking for, to report an incident, we will help work through that process. Anything that a police report is filed out on, our sheriff's office is investigating. And anything that's brought to staff's attention is also looked at to make sure, that we're paying attention to what's going on. I have also personally taken a couple of phone calls from individuals in our community who have said, I talked to a person, this is what happened to them. We've tracked it down to the very best of our ability and not been able to find that either through cameras or incident reports or anything to that nature. So if anybody in our community has specific examples that we can look into, we are happy to do that to the fullest of our extent. We really are aware that this is a concern. Happy to, go ahead, Ben.
Sure. Good morning, Ben West. I'm the County Security Administrator here with Washoe County. As Dana has outlined, we have frequent meetings both with Allied Universal Security staff and VOA staff, as well as county staff. Those are weekly meetings to discuss security issues. We have a weekly call with the Sheriff's Office communications team, as well as their executive staff, on responses to the campus so that we can match up the kind of calls that they're responding to with our existing incident reports so that we can make sure that we're not missing anything. Additionally, we have post orders and procedures for both Allied Universal staff as well as VOA that if anything is reported to them, that we encourage people to make those reports to law enforcement. We will facilitate however that needs to be taken care of. We have the ability to take people to a private location so that they can report to law enforcement anything that has occurred without having to make that report in the common areas of the campus. So we are working to address the concerns of both getting things reported as well as understanding the issues that can be surrounding the reporting of certain kinds of crimes that can make people both nervous, feel that their needs are not being attended to, and also that they would be making that report in front of other people that may retaliate. So we continue to work together with VOA to make sure that all of this is communicated to the proper authorities and things are investigated. We've had no specific reports of women or any other groups being targeted. I'm sure that some people are the victims of things that we don't get necessarily reported to us, but we are open and available for any of those reports to be made to security. And again, like I said, we will facilitate getting that to the appropriate authorities in any way that we can.
Thank you very much. I have a couple more questions, but I'm going to defer to my other colleagues and then maybe come back to me. Thank you.
Mr. Dare.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that report. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody who's here. We all care about this very much and definitely have different perspectives at times, but that's not bad. It's one of the things we have to continue to care and continue to work together. With that said, a couple questions I do have. One, just with the safety thing, just because you mentioned it, sometimes there's two different formats of way to look at it. Is our structure that we just are looking to people to report if there's issues, or do we have enough eyes on that on campus? Because what I do know of this group, and I know people don't know all of our backgrounds, but a lot of us have worked with our homeless in a lot of different capacities over many years, and they're not going to report on each other very much. So we have to be there. And I say that, it just creates the ambiance that this is a safe place and it keeps everybody in line. Do we have enough security to help make sure that, or are we expecting that we're going to do follow-ups? And that's just something to think about. If we don't have an answer now, that's one of the questions I have. It doesn't have to be answered now, but it is a concern because I get both structures, and maybe we're just doing our best to create an open comment section. But my concern with this population that's not necessarily how they work. A couple other things I have questions on. On here, we have 589, I think, in the shelter now, I think is what I see. But according to once we get all of our stuff in there, which I really like, these cubicles, the capacity is 523, which we're going backwards, which is fine if we're actually helping everybody get a place to live, which is fantastic. Do you have an answer for that?
Yes. One, this is probably about a year and a half before all of this is done, right? The idea is to help people get into housing, to fill the beds that are available in our community and those temporary programs, and really to look towards reducing the number in the Sprung as a whole. One, I would say no one is going to be removed from the shelter that's there right now. Two, with the addition of the bridge housing, we're actually increasing capacity on site. We're just spreading people out.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, that makes sense. I just wanted to, doing the math, putting it together. I actually very excited. I want to cheer on the staffing portion you're talking about, case manager, 6 mental health, line staff, all these things. I think the one thing that's frustrating sometimes, I think, for our community to watch, and even all of us to watch, is put plans in motion and they just take time. In the midst of that, we're missing some of these essence that have to be in place for this thing to work. And so I appreciate, and we're listening to everyone's frustration, but do know, I believe, that we're on the right track, that when we get these things in place, that it won't be perfect, because nothing's ever perfect, but we will be able to help do the best good when we have these things in place. My last question that I'll say for now, and then I'll defer as well for a moment, is on the winterization. How many people right now are we concerned about that do not have a place?
Well, our latest counts of unsheltered are somewhere in the 700 realm. We do not have a very clear idea of, at this point in time, how many have come into the shelter and how many have not. But I do believe, and I think that our staff believes also, it is a significant number. And that's why we need to make sure that we have enough capacity for anybody who is seeking to come inside and get out of the elements.
Just, a lot of us have served in those tents, and I'm glad to know that it looks like we do not need to do that. But I'm just very concerned, obviously, all of us, that we are not leaving anybody in the cold in that session. I mean, there's a time to work on all of these things, but
Absolutely. It's the number one priority. That heated garage facility, as I mentioned, will hold up to over 300 people in the entire building, and it is heated. And Reno Housing Authority has agreed to let us lease that. We're just working through the details of getting that into place. So as we, like I said, the plan right now is for all of that to be approved on the 14th, and we're looking at ways to move that up in an emergency fashion.
We don't meet for another month. Is it possible to get some updates on what's happening with
Yes.
winterization of this
Yes.
on an ongoing basis, so we can all keep our ear to the ground and know what's happening?
We will email all of you and also post on our website when we have an update on both that building and the Mod Pods.
Thank you.
Ms. Weber?
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for your reports, and I have tried to stay in touch, and I watch the meetings typically. My concern is, and maybe you can address it, is how, when someone has a physical problem that's on the campus, how do they report that? And then we have the advocates here that have concerns. How do they have an opportunity to report these, and so that we are hearing from them, because they know who is having problems and can't report it on the campus? How do we do that?
Sure. So to the immediate question, one, I think this board is why we meet, is to hear those concerns. And two, our staff, myself and several members of my staff, we are all available to take calls and talk through these things. And as Ben and I said, we are willing to look into any concern or issue that is arisen. It's obviously important that we keep the campus as safe as it can be. It does serve a lot of people. There's a lot going on. And it's important that we make sure we understand what those things are. So I have taken calls. I'm willing to take calls. Commissioner Hill and myself have met with advocates in the past. We are willing to do that again. Not speaking on behalf of Commissioner Hill, but that remains open. That door is there, and we are here.
Okay, it just seems to me that there needs to be, and you are so busy, and I'm sure your staff are so busy, but it seems to me that there should be some kind of an ongoing opportunity to meet with these folks who are sharing their concerns about people that are on the campus. I think it would be really good for the community. I think it would be really good in a way that they feel that they can come to someone and report it. And it kind of seems to me it should be a weekly something where you can sit down with those groups who can report that information. I don't know. I just think there's something that needs to be done about that. So, anyway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hill, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say to the staff, thank you for getting the staffing plan together. This has been something that has been worked on and looked at, and I'm really excited for this to be approved by the County Commission. I think it shows our commitment to ensuring that this emergency shelter is safe and that it's successful, and that we can follow the model of our place, because that's really what we're doing with this new staffing plan. And many of the issues brought up by public comment, as well as our committee today, I know will be resolved when the staffing plan is implemented. So I'm very excited about that. And just a reminder that, this is something that we're continuing, it's a new thing, and we're continuing to learn and re-engage. I also want to remind the public that the warming center is open still for people, and that there is an opportunity for people to get out of the cold, whether or not they want to stay in the shelter. And That's something that we have been working on, and that is a resource for people that, if they need that. So thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and those are my comments.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other, Ms. Jordan?
Thank you very much. Two additional questions and comments, and I think it's important that we maybe, Dana, have someone from VOA come and give some reporting as to, they're in the building, they're there with the clients that they serve, and have great relationships with every day. So I think it's important that we hear from those that are operating the shelter. The second thing, I did want to hear from the county, as this discussion of Record Street does, or, however that evolves, what is the county's position on emergency sheltering for women? Would the county be supportive or not of the city of Reno doing something with Record Street?
Honestly, I am not prepared to answer that for you today. I know.
Is there someone from the county that could speak to that? Well, and the reason I say this is with the county's the lead. The county is making the plan, and I think it's critically important that we're all sort of swimming in the same direction. So, I mean, we don't want to head down any path that is in conflict, and that's what I'm trying to get at.
For the record, County Manager Eric Brown. So I think the response to that is we just recently learned about the city's or the plan to do that last week. So I think in fairness, I need to consult with the commissioners and the folks involved to find out where we are. Don't have an answer for you today. Not opposed to it, not supportive of it. Need to find out more about it.
Okay, thank you. And then could we just get what's happened? I'm sorry, I think, thank you, Manager. What's happening in the next 48 hours? I'm not sure I got clarity on the new over 5,000 square feet, is that garage building? I don't know that I got a full square footage that can hold over 300 people. That's amazing. I mean, this is a big deal to have that much space, and it sounds like it can be secured or segregated in ways that might provide some level of security. So I'm just trying to understand, one, the next 48 hours, and then two, can that space be set up in a manner where the women could potentially be there with more secured opportunities, I guess. And the reason although you have said you're not getting official information as it relates to those sorts of things happening, et cetera, perception can be reality, and particularly when we're trying to attract people to the campus to take advantage of the services and sheltering and warmth and food and all those things. If perceived or fact, if the word out on the street is that it's not safe and or there's some harm occurring or all of these things, we have to address that, because that's the last thing we want. And so we want to, if there are rumors, we want to, dissuade and dissolve any rumors. But I do think we need to understand how we can better maybe do that.
100%. Yes.
So 48 hours, and then could that space be situated in a manner where all of the women could be in it?
So over the next 48 hours, we're going to determine whether or not in some emergency fashion, the county can have access to that building.
Okay.
We need to be fair to all of our partners and ask if that's reasonable or not. I believe that we have found a way at the county. We have a little bit more to work through. So hopefully in the next 24 hours or so, we have an answer on whether or not we will have access to that building this week. Worst case is, again, next week, that is on the board's approval. Because of the Mod Pod information that we got late last week, that's why we were looking at trying to move that up. With the weather change over the weekend, that makes even more sense, which is why this morning it's now how quickly can we all rally and make this happen for everyone. It has a lot of silver linings. one, it does provide the opportunity to pull women out and put them in a separate area, still on campus, still using everything that's there, but just a little bit further segregated from the rest of the population that is there. It also allows us to move all of those tents off the site where the mod pods have to be constructed. It keeps them safe and secure until that's done, and then when they move out of the garage, and they'll be right back into their mod pods. So I hope that all of this comes together. My commitment to you is to send you all an update with this information in the next day or two as this all develops.
Thank you very much. And then maybe what the alternate is, if that doesn't materialize in 48 hours, what the plan is for the coming weekend with the extreme weather. Thank you so much that Pat, you're here to give us, we often talk about you, but don't always call you up to the podium. I'm sorry, not about you in a bad way. I mean, although, yeah, Chris does. We just wanted to hear, I mean, you guys are the boots on the ground in the building, seeing it all on the campus. What's your take?
Hi, Pat Cashel, for the record, Regional Director for Volunteers America, Juliana Glock, Operations and Compliance Director. It's definitely had its challenges, but I feel like we're all working really well together, ourselves, county, city, and allied security, to make this a place of change. And we definitely have a bit of a rocky road ahead of us, and I believe at the end of this rocky road, you're going to have a campus that's something that, as a community, we can be really proud of. Safety every day is definitely a concern of mine. Our biggest issue at the campus is obviously staffing. We work every day. It's a priority of ours to get us fully staffed. And until we get us fully staffed, safety is a big concern. As far as the reported issues, there's a process, and I'll have Juliana explain that process. If there is an issue at the campus, if an individual does feel threatened or attacked, there are processes, and we're available to them every single day. And we take those reports seriously. The Washoe County Sheriff's Office has helped us and supported us tremendously and been involved in all of those incident reports where it's warranted. So yeah, if there's questions, or I'd like Juliana to explain if someone does feel threatened or if they do have a grievance, so you understand what that process looks like. If someone is removed from campus, what that process looks like, and how they can move forward with, if they are removed from campus, how they can get back on as well.
Juliana Gluck, for the record. So we do have a few processes in place. So if somebody has to report a crime or is feeling unsafe and it's something that we don't witness, there are multiple outlets of where they can report that. They can report it directly to their case manager, who would assist them in filing a police report if it's a crime. As Dana had and Ben spoke about, there are cameras throughout the whole campus, which have been reviewed regularly by both law enforcement, staff, as well as Washoe County, to investigate those reports. They can also, I have people that come down to my office on a regular basis that I meet with. When I do an investigation, in addition to reviewing the security cameras, I work with Washoe County staff. I also talk to any of our staff that would have been involved or possibly witnessed anything, as well as clients or participants that would have been in the area. If somebody wants to file a grievance, they can file a grievance at the campus. They can also turn it in at Record Street. They can turn it into the security. We are looking at installing boxes to where they can do it confidentially. I know, and I can't speak for the county, but I know that they have also implemented a campus-wide grievance process to where they can also respond to those. If somebody is asked to leave the campus for any amount of time, with the exception of an overnight, there is an appeal process. We have a form that they can fill out that gets turned in at the security desk, where they provide it to myself as well as
the liaison from Washoe County, where we meet, we investigate the situation, and then we come up with a decision as to whether to overturn it or not. Anybody that is banned for a 6-month ban or sit-out time, it has to be a very serious incident, where it's literally like illegal, like serious violence, sale of drugs, that kind of thing. Otherwise, people are not generally asked to sit out for very long. So, do you have any questions around our process? Sorry. Hopefully I was thorough.
No, thank you. That was good. I appreciate the feedback on that. Thank you.
I want to, in the interest of time, we have a rather lengthy next item. And I'm going to allow 20 minutes on that item because I'm afraid we're going to lose a quorum before the end of the day at 11. So one more question, Mr. Dare.
So my final question is actually not for VOA. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It came up and so at large. I would ask that we're very careful about, as we move forward to open any campus, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, no one's bringing it to me as a question, but there is a plan in place and there's a purpose in it. And sometimes if you're not careful, we will create, out of an emergency, it's called, tyranny of the urgent, we create situations that take away from the resources of that. However, I would also say, we also have some tyranny of the urgent happening. And so I would just say, I would hope as we look at all this unfolding and we come back next month to hear what's happened, and we hear is that we are still moving forward, pulling everybody together, but still finding these answers. Again, I'm not here to try to say what's right or wrong on another campus. That's not coming in front of me necessarily. But I would say if it takes us off course and puts us in a new place, that we could cause more damage sometimes that way. And I say that nicely to everyone in the crowd. I'm not trying to pick on a plan. I think everyone's trying to help people. But I do know in the very end, we need the right staffing in place. We need all these things in place. And the more campuses that are open, do know that it takes more staff and more all of those things. So I just share that as a concern. I know when we get in these emergency times, it's easy to go, let's do this. So it's not really a question. It's just something that was out there. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So anything else from any other board members? Ms. Hill, do you have anything else?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay. Do we need to accept the report, or we just move on? We'll move on to item 6 then. Update, discussion, and possible direction regarding the Community Homeless Advisory Board goals and objectives to include but not limited to 5 different items. Who is going to present this? Kate?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. For the record, Kate Thomas. This is a continuation of an item that you were discussing on the November 1st agenda. So I actually turn it over to this board to set the goals and objectives of this, of the board, of the Community Homelessness Advisory Board. We've listed for you on the agenda the items that were being discussed in the last meeting. If that's the path that you'd like to go down, those include the permanent housing for the Nevada Cares campus residents and the region, the concept of regionally shared data, the engagement of community donations and volunteers. We had some discussion around safety of shelter clients, employees, and visitors. And then finally, the community communication, which I think you're happy to see that there's that specific position listed in the staff plan that was presented to you around the volunteer opportunity. So I'll turn it over to this board to discuss if these are the areas that you'd like. I know Mr. Vice Chair can certainly lead you through this discussion if you'd like. We're happy to take notes.
I appreciate that.
You bet.
I'll try to make them brief, which is hard to do.
Yeah, you're good. Call us
Mr.
if
Dare.
you need anything.
Okay. I think we are definitely moving forward on a lot of these goals, and I appreciate it. And looking at the one question I have, and it may be kind of a given, but it's one of those things that I've seen us in our work of going after the CARES campus and working on this, that I also believe this is a safe place for all the community partners to come together and for us to continue to collaborate and create that unified approach. And lately, I can say this is not necessarily bad, it's just where our attention has been. I've not seen that as much, so I don't know if it needs to be as part of our plan, is that we say, hey, that we also are creating this atmosphere or something of that setting, so we have, whether it's all those working in our youth homelessness, that we can say, this is a place for you to come. I know that strategy is so crucial, but if we're not careful, it's really easy to stem away, and then we're not bringing the community back together on a regular basis. That'd be probably my only concern, of somehow making sure that is a given and we keep that in tow. Thank you.
Ms. Jordan.
You know, he was looking at me when he said, keep it brief. Did you notice that? I think just given some of the information we've received in the last few months, I feel like the campus and its phases are evolving. And they are coming together, the costs, the fundraising, the support, the staffing, all those things are really coming together for the campus, which is exciting because we're starting to see the vision now for what the details look like. I think the priority on this board, which you have it on here, is some of that creative transitional housing. I know, like I said, on the council's agenda on Wednesday, we've got a pretty creative and almost immediate opportunity that we'll be discussing, is, you know, that kind of being the thing that we need to be visioning ourselves for being the priority, is what are those bridge housing opportunities and how quickly are they going to be able to come to fruition, so we can, as staffing increases and as the programming augments, how we're getting people through and into that bridge housing and then permanent supportive housing, et cetera. So I know the city, that is a number one priority of the city, and how we partner with this board and the county to make those things flow. That would be my only thing. I think the priorities on here are well established and are clear. So, thank you.
Ms. Weber, do you have anything?
I don't, thanks.
Commissioner Hill, you have anything?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I would like to speak to the member Dare's comments. I agree that we need to get the community to still feel like they can come to these meetings and be part of them, and that's what I envision with the regional shared data. So I don't know if we necessarily need to create a new category for that, but you know, depending on what the committee would like to see, but I'd like to see how we continue to talk to our nonprofit operators in this space and make sure that we're all working together and sharing our data, and that we're actually, you know, contributing to that system that we can all use to ensure that we're getting people into housing, which is really what we're focused on. And then as far as the transitional housing, maybe we add permanent/transitional housing to item 6A to speak to member Jardin's concerns. And that's the only thing I wanted to add. I imagine that these would be things that we could bring speakers to help us once we're you know, through this kind of emergency staffing and, you know, really putting out fires at the CARES campus, you know, really looking at next steps to getting people to housing. So I will work with the vice chair and the staff to, you know, make sure that our agendas address these issues and that we're all on the same page. So thank you very much for entertaining these visioning ideas.
Thank you. And I think we're absolutely correct. I mean, this program doesn't work unless we get people in housing and permanent housing. There's a transition period that we know we have to go through from all the folks that we've talked to around the country. And the folks have to get that help to, you know, from everything from a checking account to ID to all the things that go along with being a productive member of society is that basically soup to nuts approach. And it all ends with housing. That, I think, is our number one priority for the future, and how we address that regionally is going to be a big deal. I'm curious to see what Reno has in store. I've heard a little bit about what you guys are talking about. I'd like to see, you know, how that works and how that could maybe work in Sparks. The regional shared data, I think, is super important. We have a lot of people touching this population, and that having that shared data So you don't have to do an interview every single time. We know that it's Christopher there. We know what Christopher's issues are. We know what we can do to help him, and we know where we are in the continuum of care to get him into permanent housing. So I think that goes a long ways in speeding this process up too. And then I think the best thing I saw from the county was a volunteer coordinator. There's so much to be done at the campus, and there's so many people that want to help, that they want to help, they're not exactly sure how to help. So having a coordinator to do that, coordinate those groups, I think is super important. I think in the long term, we'll see some really good positive things come out of that in the fact that we're channeling some of this energy that we all have to help the population. And then, of course, safety, big deal. That is huge. I don't know where, I know we got to do more. The issue with all of this comes down to money. I mean, it's truly about money, and there's just not a lot of money in our budgets for the cities and the counties. So it's got to be a priority. We have to make that absolutely a priority. And to go back on a comment that Councilman Dare said about the population not wanting to report incidents that happen. I mean, we've seen it obviously in Sparks. We get a weekly report on our homeless population, and they actually put a hit out on a couple, some guys. They said, if you see these people, kill them. And that our police department took that very seriously. So there's a different mindset that we're not all wrapping our head around. There's some people that thrive in this environment. Those are the folks we need to not really be helping too much, and we should find them another place to be. But the ones that truly need help, the ones we want to help, which is about 90% of the population from what I can gather from the folks that I talk to. So I think these are great goals. I think in the long run, it will certainly help to get us to where we need, but I think number one for us is housing. We got to figure out the housing part of this because it does absolutely no good to get people on track and then have no place for them to go. And at the end of the day, it becomes a big circle, and we certainly don't want to be doing that. All right, any other question, Ms. Jarden?
Thank you very much. I did want to, I think maybe one of the things that could be contemplated, because there are so many different groups from the other people in this space, the Eddie Houses, the NYEPs, all of those great folks that are doing things, as well as the advocates, is maybe there's value in an ombudsman that is the go-between, that could come to the different jurisdictions to give updates, could have a point person with the advocacy groups that can gather some of that information that those individuals maybe aren't comfortable in sharing directly with an official, but we could maybe gather that information that could then come to this board. I don't know, just a thought, because I know staffs are strained and stretched. I don't know if that might help to share information and mitigate some of the issues that we're seeing here, but I agree with you, Mayor Lawson, that the housing component is a significant issue that we all need to make a priority, and I think the jurisdictions are doing that. But the value of this campus can't be understated, and we just want everybody's involvement to make it the best that it can be. Thank you.
Mr. Dare, did you have something?
Yeah, I just want to kind of go back to something. Thank you, Chair Hill. I appreciate that. The only concern I have about us just leaving it, and I say this, the data can be shared without showing up. Data can be collected, and we never get to meet them. Data can be put together, and they're never really a part of what we're doing. So I almost, and I just say this not to try to push, you guys can, as you sit down and make some decisions too, but I think slash updates, somehow we need to bring people to the table where we get to all show that we're together. That'd be my only concern on it, because I can say, as we roll forward, I strongly believe, and I said this before, I don't believe government can solve some of these issues. You have to have people, your churches, your care people, your different advocates around, and part of this And if we're not doing that, we're going to find ourselves, we're just keeping pushing this rock uphill. We got to really pull everybody else in the community in. So I say that, though, yes, I think data and all that regional data is important. Somehow, I just like to make sure that we are actively putting that as an essential goal, is that we're having our community, because if we don't lead unity, it won't happen. It's not normal. Matter of fact, we've seen over the years that it hasn't happened, that we had all our silos on a regular basis. That does not help us. It does not help anybody. We have to keep working together. And so thank you. That's just my thoughts on it. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Hill, you have anything?
Sure. I think that Member Dare brings up a good point. So can we add to that the shared regional data plus following the Built for Zero model? Because the Built for Zero model is bringing people to the table. And I know that Dana and her team are talking to these folks weekly, but ensuring that they feel heard by our committee as well is something that the Vice Chairman and I can work on.
I agree. Okay.
I have one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll be quick. When it comes to data, there was a comment or a question that was asked about the dashboard, which I think is great, by the way, about it being updated on the weekends. It just doesn't get updated on the weekends? It does not. I'm getting a head nod. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, good. We'll move on to item 7, board member announcements, reports, and updates, and requests for future board agenda items. Yes, Ms. Dart.
Thank you very much. I did want to announce, I don't know if everybody saw it, that Northern Nevada Hopes had its first graduates come through that program. I know this board, and I certainly know the city of Reno were huge advocates of that creative program and facility initiative, and pretty excited. Kudos to Sharon Chamberlain and everybody at Northern Nevada Hopes. What a model of a great program that is doing tremendous work in the community. And again, one of those opportunities, just like the Village on Sage Street, where, you know, a few years ago, those two things didn't exist. And through the advocacy of this group, community members and all the jurisdictions, we have been able to move the needle on things that never existed before. So kudos to the graduates, first and foremost. That's a big deal. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Hill? I try not to forget you're out there in Etherland. Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to public comment. Madam Clerk.
First up, we have Megan Archibald.
Hello, for the record, my name is Megan Archambault. I just want to make a note first off. This emphasis on reporting crimes and such to law enforcement is ignoring your asking people to report trauma to the very people who are perpetuating further trauma in the sweeps. An unsubstantiated report doesn't mean crimes didn't happen. Second, we need comprehensive data on how many people are kicked out of CARES and Safe Camp and barred from returning for anywhere between 24 hours to 6 months. Hypothermia can kill in a matter of hours. That there's a formal appeals process is great, but when you're scattering people from here to there, how are they contacted to let them know the outcome? How do you reach people without phones? As to Board Member Lawson's comment about people thriving in the environment of homelessness and not wanting to help them, that's not thriving, that's surviving. And it's often born of mistrust and fear due to repeat trauma. In recent sweeps, people living outside were reported they were given the choice of jail, going to CARES, or leaving the city. At one such sweep on September 16th, one of the moderators of Reno Sparks Mutual Aid called CARES around 2:30 or so to check on capacity. And we were told there were only 4 beds available. However, dozens of people were told to go there that day. That Ms. Cersei states they haven't had a day with no beds comes as a shock to those of us who've been told on the phone or at the security desk that there is no bed available. Further, I'm concerned this opens the city and county up to liability under Martin v. Boise, which held that criminalizing sleeping, sitting, or lying in all public spaces when no alternative sleeping space is available does violate the 8th Amendment. And unsheltered people have previously reported that police, NDOT, and railroad staff have destroyed and lost their belongings during these sweeps. In Mitchell v. City of Los Angeles, which was a case in 2019, the city decided to settle for $645,000 and agreed to provide advance notice, not destroy property, not make the property retrieval arduous, and to not limit the number of belongings unsheltered people may have. I know the city and county do want to do what's best for everyone, but with understaffing and safety concerns at CARES currently, substantiated reports of violent conflicts, including a stabbing, staff without comprehensive trauma-informed training and de-escalation, and staff kicking people out without recourse, because a lot of people haven't been informed that they do have recourse if they've been kicked out. I hope you can understand why people are hesitant to view CARES as an option. My husband Darren and I have witnessed Karma Box staff berating people in the past, to the point we did see one woman break down in tears as she yelled at a staff member, "I'm a person, God damn it." That's a point of desperation. Our group works closely with advocates for unsheltered neighbors. We've had members donate trash bags, tents, all kinds of things to people who are living outside, only to have them seized or destroyed by RPD within a matter of days. This is kicking the can down the road. We've seen donations refused at CARES after Pat Cashel has given the okay to receive them due to a lack of communication. We must better streamline communication and treat our unsheltered neighbors with the compassion they deserve and give them the opportunity to direct the services they receive. Thank you.
Jessica Castro.
I would like to start by saying, Jackie, I no longer trust my government. My name is Jessica Castro. I didn't say my name yet. Thank you. I should get 5 seconds back. Dana, you have a room full of advocates here saying over and over, okay, there are advocates here over and over saying that there is harm being caused. We are here and we say it. I've had conversations with her about this. I will tell you, my first experience was trying to share that Karma Box causes a lot of harm at Safe Camp, and I was gaslighted. I was told to stop worrying about what Karma Box is doing and do my own advocacy, so I did. And in my advocacy over and over, I have to counteract harm that is done by Karma Box. So when I'm gaslighted by that same person, and I now have women coming to me telling me that they are sexually assaulted, and the only contact I have is the person that's already gaslighted me, what am I to do? And she says, give me her name. I don't trust you. I don't want to give you her name. You know, they contradicted themselves. They said they don't have enough staff, but they have plenty of cameras. Anytime I have tried to ask for them to look at cameras, I get denied. My homeless friends get denied. I have been treated very poorly by Juliana, myself, as an advocate when I go on campus. I am treated like I'm a nuisance, like I should get out of there, and I'm disregarded. So these are all the same people that you're telling me that my friends should trust when I don't trust them. The gaslighting in this room is absurd. There are no available beds. There is harm being done. I am out there every day. They know me. They come to me. If a woman is sexually assaulted, I can tell you right now, she's gonna come tell me. If I'm out there and she has the chance, she's gonna tell me. I have nowhere to take that because I don't trust the people you put in place. The first time I ever tried to reach out to one of the commissioners or the board members here, I was gaslighted. I was told that the person that I was advocating for refused help, which was a lie. I watched multiple city officials fail, not be able to get her housing that day. And then when I reached out to this board to say that, I was gaslighted. And I was told, we're doing a great job, she refused help, good day. There's a lot of lies. I no longer trust my local government. I cannot sit in these rooms while there's lies after lies being told. Her lies and her negligence is causing harm.
Cut you off if you continue.
Is causing harm to advocates and to the unhoused. And you can cut me all you want, Mr. Lawson, because I'm still going to be out there, and I'm still going to be in here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather Carpenter.
Hello, my name is Heather Carpenter again. I have quite a few notes here. I'm going to try and cover as coherently as possible. First, I would like to address the board's goals. I would like to support item 6A as taking front and center in the goals, and I will tell you why. I would rather see money and effort going to getting people into private rooms than more security on the campus. A few eyes watching over hundreds of people is not as effective as a door that locks. The cubicles that we saw pictured, they create the illusion of privacy, but it really just hinders what security is able to see, right? So it's not really a viable solution, in my opinion. As far as case managers, I've been told that it's very, very difficult to actually even ever meet a case manager. They could be there for weeks or months and still never meet their case manager. So even if on paper they're assigned a case manager, if a homeless person goes to report an issue, that might be the first time they're meeting that case manager. How are they supposed to share all of the trauma and things that are going on for them with somebody that they have not built trust with? As far as the grievance process, now, I'm not entirely familiar with that. It sounds like it's all in writing, if that is correct, like a written slip put in a box and that's as anonymous as possible. So I'm curious as to how accessible the grievance process is to people who struggle with written communication. As you may know, dyslexia is overrepresented in the homeless community. I am happy to hear that the Record Street sale has been postponed. I hope that is abandoned entirely. Again, as far as assaults being reported, if they don't trust anyone and the people that they're supposed to be reporting to are not informed on the kind of issues, that can be very traumatizing in itself. As far as the CARES Lived Experience Board, I would like more information on that. Who are these people? Are they incentivized to support CARES? Are they employees or CARES graduates? And finally, if I have enough time, I would like to address, Ed Lawson, you did make a comment about being a productive member of society. I know this is a term that's commonly used, but I would like you to rethink that in the future. Everyone here who might use that comment, a lot of homeless people work, they have family, and they help their community by watching out for one another. What makes them more productive than that?
Next up, we have Megan O'Farrell.
Hello again, Megan O'Farrell for the record. I have a few things I'd like to address as well too after those presentations. First, I appreciate the fact that the concerns that were brought to this group and to the county are being heard from John DeCarmine. It is a little unfortunate that we have had to have those conversations come through a consultant, though they have been expressed by your constituents and advocates for many, many months. I hear a lot today of the lack of communication, and I think several of you have brought it up tonight or this morning about the need for more transparency and feedback. And again, I want to iterate, though we are in these positions now, they are not new. We have been advocating for the winter preparedness plan since last winter because we are well aware that winter comes every year. And so at this point, when we say things like, we're making decisions in emergency is because this is where we are. I can't change the fact that we are now in an emergency. I have been coming to as many city council meetings and community-led meetings as I can to ask for this to happen, and now we are here. So I don't think that we get to have a different discussion because the emergency is in front of us. I don't get to make that decision, you do, and the rest of our community does. So I appreciate the fact that we're recognizing that we have to do things hastily, but that is the position we are in now, and arguing about whether that is true or not is pointless. And so what I'm asking and urging again, as I did in my first public comment, is to encourage you to work with the city to open up the Record Street shelter as an emergency overflow space right now. As Councilmember Jardin has asked, The county is not prepared to open another position in the next few days, and that storm is not going to wait for us to continue to not have things figured out. And we have a turnkey shelter that has been used for this purpose in front of us right now, and we have the capacity to make it happen if we can get in rooms together and have a conversation and get it going right now. And so I encourage all of you to please consider that and to do what you can. I don't know how else to beg and ask for this. This is a priority and it needs to happen. And I do want to preface a very important thing that I have personally been in communication. I was on a Zoom meeting with Dana Cersei myself back in October talking about this very same thing. So to reiterate my point, the fact that the county is just now hearing about Record Street being used as a facility last week is a problem. And this is not going to get solved by us continuing to sit in these rooms and yell at each other the way that we're doing now. And so I appreciate that we have been told that we need to come to the table. I want you to know that we've been at the table. I'm coming to all of the tables. I'm talking to all of the people. I'm doing what I can to participate in what is supposed to be a democracy of our community, and it is failing us. Just the same as when we hear about these reports that are happening in the CARES campus that they have not found any issues with assault and violence is failing us. It's not our job to say whether or not we think what we're doing is working. We have it in front of us to tell us it's not working. We need everyone to let their egos go to the side and address what's really important here, which is saving and supporting human life. Thank you.
Bill Sims?
So I realized I forgot to mention earlier, of course, my name is Bill Sims for the record. And basically, I just wanted to first point out to what you said, Mayor Lawson, is civil discourse is something that you guys require. We wouldn't need to be here because of the fact the way I talk is because I'm pissed. I'm not about to be unicorns and rainbows with the guys when you're not doing anything to help our houseless community. And to you, Chris, when you said that these plans take time, well, when Bob said last month that he wanted to file a motion to meet every other month, you can't enact plans when someone like him doesn't give two shits about the homeless. So there's that. Also, to what Jessica was talking about earlier, with things at CARES campus, and I quote, when she was trying to figure out why the gentleman I mentioned earlier was wrongfully banned and was not let back in because there were no beds available, he literally, and I quote, told her to suck a dick.
Sir.
That's not okay.
Please.
That's what they said. I know it's rude. I'm sorry that it is, but I'm not the one that said it. And you guys need to hear that to actually understand what's going on. You can't hide behind this chivalry kind of thing. You have to actually hear what's going on. I'm sorry. Also, in regards to Safe Camp, if everyone is always welcome, even with their health issues, why is it when we were serving breakfast on Saturday that this young lady told me that she was evicted from Safe Camp, not because she did anything wrong, but because she was an insurance liability for having 2 strokes? So you're telling me she doesn't deserve a roof over her head because of medical issues that are outside of her control? No, that's not okay. Also, as I would always like to say, when you were talking about money, Mayor Watson, it should be people over paper every day of the week. Paper should not be worth more than people. You are here to serve the people, and you should be the one to find solutions around that. And the last thing I wanted to say is if we all had to be productive members of society to get help, then I guess you would evict me from my apartment because I receive Social Security benefits and I choose not to work.
I have nobody else signed in.
Okay. With that, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.